This is the 4th time we've recorded episode 3.
Is this episode 6? Oh, sorry, my bad. Episode 3. Sorry.
Right.
It's a mistake with that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want a cup of tea?
You might as well make another cup of tea.
Might as well.
Okay.
Right.
We're getting some tea.
That's when you just put the intro music on.
We're getting some tea, and then... Oh, that's the intro. Okay, that's... Oh! Right, well, thankfully there isn't a control right click. Oh, if there is,
We're screwed.
we're screwed.
This is the 4th recording of episode 3.
I think it's more than that.
Well,
Is it?
this is the
No.
This is the longest
Oh,
one we've done. That is 4.
Right, well, it's not going to corrupt this time.
It better not, or I'll
Because I'm not going to use the right click button.
kill you. And I
Right,
said that on
okay.
recording.
Ben Thompson.
Hello, sir.
Dear me.
I
How are
was-
you, my friend?
Tired. It's
We've
to 10:15.
We've come a long way
We
in
have.
just a couple of hours.
Yes.
Oh, right. Well,
And we so episode 3 part 4.
yes. Okay. It won't corrupt this time.
So I don't know how about you, but we actually talked about something really recently.
Yeah. Yeah. A while back,
Yeah.
we had this conversation, right?
Right.
And basically, it was just, we were talking about we were talking about the Bible, right?
Yeah.
And then we were talking about there's this dragon that's mentioned in the Bible called Leviathan, right? And from that, you were basically said that you thought there might have been dragons in the
Yeah,
past
what if there
due to
were
that passage
real
there in the
life
Bible.
Dragons, yeah.
And I was challenging that idea of yours. So get that verse ready while
I will do that.
speak here. So yeah, there's this dragon in the book of Job in the Bible, and it's basically God is describing this dragon. It's quite long, so bear with us, but it's quite
Okay.
quite amazing the way it's described anyway.
Aye. Right, so you can find this in Job 41. It's God challenging Job. So, can you draw out Leviathan with a fishhook, or press down his tongue with a cord? Can you put rope in his nose, or pierce his jaw with a hook? Will he make many pleas to you? Will he speak to you soft words? Will he make a covenant with you, to take him for your servant forever? Will you play with him as with a bird, or will you put him on a leash for your girls? Will traders bargain over him? Will they divide him up among the merchants? Can you fill his skin with harpoons, or his head with fishing spears? Lay your hands on him. Remember the battle. You will not do it again. Behold, the hope of a man is false. He is laid low even at the sight of him. No one is so fierce that he dares to stir him up. Who then is he who can stand before me? Who has first given to me that I should repay him? Whatever is under the whole heaven is mine. I will not keep silence concerning his limbs, or his mighty strength, or his goodly frame. Who can strip off his outer garment? Who would come near him with a bridle? Who can open the doors of his face? Around his teeth is terror. His back is made of rows of shields, shut up closely as with a seal. One is so near to another that no air can come between them. They are joined one to another. They clasp each other and cannot be separated. His sneezings flash forth light, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the dawn. Out of his mouth go flaming torches, sparks of fire leap forth. Out of his nostrils come forth smoke, as from a boiling pot and burning rushes. His breath kindles coals, and a flame comes forth from his mouth. In his neck abides strength, and terror dances before him. The folds of his flesh stick together, firmly cast on him and immovable. His heart is as hard as stone, hard as the lower millstone. When he raises himself up, the mighty are afraid. At the crashing they are beside themselves. Though the sword reaches him, it does not avail, nor the spear, the dart, or the javelin. He He counts iron as straw and bronze as rotten wood. The arrow cannot make him flee. For him, stones are turned to stubble. Clubs are counted as stubble. He laughs at the rattle of javelins. His underparts are like sharp potsherds. He spreads himself like a threshing sledge on the mire. He makes the deep boil like a pot. He makes the sea like a pot of ointment. Behind him he leaves a shining wake. One would think the deep to be white-haired. On earth there is not his like, a creature without fear. He sees everything that is high. He is king over all the sons of pride.
So that's outstanding imagery there in that passage.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is what led me to believe, there's pretty big detail. Surely then.
Yes, it's clearly it went into some trouble describing this thing.
Describing a dragon, yeah.
Goes on for a full chapter.
Yep.
Describing it vividly. So Leviathan's basically this big sea monster, a sea dragon, right? And you initially were from the perspective that maybe dragons existed.
Yeah.
And I wanted to challenge that idea. Right. So this thing about here. What is a dragon and why is it a sea dragon of all things? Well, there's this idea in mythology and in the Bible and tales of folklore that all everywhere, right? In our everyday lives, okay. The sea and anything to do with water, right, is a synonym for chaos, right? So you fall into the sea, it's not your natural. Obviously, your natural place is on land, right? You're in this. You're caught off guard. Everything's nothing around you makes sense. It's not
unfamiliar.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's unfamiliar, right? So the sea and the water is this idea of chaos, and you can't really predict
the unknown.
Yeah, unpredictability, right? And as I said, in the Bible, it talks. Well, don't explicitly mention this, but there's examples everywhere in the Bible about the water being chaos. Take the Noah story, for example, right? A big part of that is water. It says. It says.
In case you didn't know,
yeah.
The Noah story. There's a really big bit. It's all about the water.
Yeah. Spoilers.
So in case you didn't know about that.
So basically, the whole world gets flooded.
Whoa!
What does that mean? It's what does that mean?
Well, in keeping the metaphor, it's
what does chaos. What does it mean? The whole world's submerged underwater. The whole world's in chaos.
Yeah.
And it's the idea that this one guy is above the chaos, and then
with God's help.
Yeah, and then the Moses story, he splits the Red Sea, and he gets through unscathed.
With God's help, yeah.
And it's the idea that
you can.
Hold on a minute. It's the idea that you can go through. The idea of the hero goes through chaos and gets to the other end. He goes through the whole thing a better person.
Jonah's story as well, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That actually has a sea monster in it as well. Yeah. So that's my understanding of what the sea is and water. Now, what's my understanding of the dragon? It talks about this mighty dragon. All a dragon is this thing that can kill you. It's an apex predator.
Yeah.
It's like a lion and a snake and an eagle that breathes fire.
Pretty much, yeah.
Enough said. It's just
teeth, claws, wings, the whole lot.
Now, what does it mean? This chaos that can kill you. That's what Leviathan is. It's chaos. It's our description. It's the best description of chaos that can kill you. That's what I believe Leviathan to be. A wee story. I'll just describe it a bit better. There's a children's story about a dragon, And the way it goes is there's this wee dragon that shows up in this kid's house someday, and the kid goes, "Look, mum, there's a dragon," and the mum ignores it because dragons don't exist, of course. So the next day goes past, and the dragon's slightly bigger, and the kid goes, "Look, there's a dragon, mum," and the mother ignores it again because dragons don't exist. And then it gets to the stage where the dragon's in every room in the house, and the kid's like, "Look, the dragon's like, it's getting so much bigger now. Look, mum." And the mum ignores the dragon because dragons don't exist. And then eventually it gets to the point where the dragon's so big, it runs off with the house as if the house was like a shell of a tortoise, right? It just runs off with it, and the mother's forced to pay attention to this dragon, obviously, because it ran away with the house. How can she ignore it much longer? And then as soon as the dragon is noticed by the mother, it shrinks back to its original size, right? Like the size of a dog or a cat. There's a cat that just jumped next to me, that's why I mentioned a cat. So what does this tell us about dragons? It tells us that they can start off small and they get bigger each day, especially when they're left unnoticed.
So
and how long I'll explain the rest of it.
Alright, okay.
And so they can get bigger when they're left unnoticed, and they get so big that not only can they reach every room in your house, they can run away with your house. And then you have to confront the dragon, right? And when you pay attention to the dragon, it shrinks down to a manageable size. That's right. That's the framework of what a dragon is, in my mind. What were you about to say there?
So just to clarify your imagery here and with the story that you've had. So dragon is a metaphorical sense for a problem, a moment in some an event or anything in somebody's life that can cause them some kind of distress, some kind of obstacle they have to
Your
get
cat
across.
is distressing me right now. It's going to climb up and just spill my tea.
I will deal with it. Get away!
Problem solved.
Problem solved indeed.
Okay.
That was a dragon right there. That was actually
Not just a dragon, right? A dragon is a problem that can kill you. That's what a dragon is. A problem that can kill you.
that can kill you.
Yes, because that's a dragon is this apex predator that breathes fire.
And I'm just
Jumping.
I know it's quite amazing to think, I guess, because like if you think about it in that kind of metaphorical sense of ignoring it and it getting bigger and bigger until it runs away with your house, so to speak, you can sort of like turn anything into like a dragon, deeming that sort of title.
Yeah.
Like say depression, it could be a dragon.
Yeah. So the idea, say there's a problem in your marriage, and it's just say that the problem is essentially a dragon. Okay, it starts off small. Problem in your marriage, right? And you don't want to address it because he wants to do that. It's hard, right? It's painful solving these kinds of problems, right? So the dragon goes unnoticed, or not unnoticed, but unaddressed, right? And it gets bigger, and it gets bigger, and the idea that it fills every room in your house, it's like you can't go anywhere without encountering the dragon. That's what that means, right? And then eventually, when it's still not tended to, it runs off your whole house. So in the story of there's a problem in your marriage, right? There's keeps on getting bigger, and then bam, you're divorced now.
Right.
And that's the dragon running away with your house. And you can face your dragons at whatever stage you want to, but there will be a stage where you don't have a choice anymore, and it runs by your house, and you have to face the dragon whether you're ready for it or not. So that's my understanding of a dragon.
Yeah, at some point the dragon comes for you,
Yeah.
comes to your house, and I'm just kind of thinking like this idea of us. Just this really stereotypical. Let's take the stereotypical dragon story of a knight in a castle who goes and slays the dragon to claim some kind of reward, be it reputation at his own castle, or save the damsel in distress, or get the treasure, or whatever person the genie gets. At the end of the day, at the end of the story, he's always better off than he was at the start.
Yeah. So a dragon isn't a dragon if it's not guarding some treasure.
Yeah.
Right. That's another thing. What a dragon is. You know, obviously every story that has a dragon, it has treasure. It's guarding something, right? And it's this idea that you're better off when you face your dragons. You gain something.
And I'm just like, I'm actually so interested in the fact that you could apply that kind of mindset, that exact structure, to every single story that's ever sort of been, more or less every single story that's ever. You have a character who has a particular challenge or dragon to overcome, and then by the end of the story, hopefully that they are in a better place after overcoming that challenge, after slaying that dragon. And it is actually it's so fascinating to think about that, the fact that it's these stories that then impact us, that then make us think that we can then sympathize with those kinds of stories. We could then realize, hang on a second, what are my dragons? You know, what can I face? What is it that I need to face? What am I scared of? What's coming for me, and what do I need to deal with before it runs away with my house?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
and I just think it's like it's a really lovely way of thinking about it, you know, because you could say, oh, we all have problems and we all got to deal with them, you know, like it's just so much. It makes me anyway feel so much better to think that I've got this kind of thing that, you know, you just gotta deal with, otherwise, you know, and you will be better off in the end. I think that's one of the most attractive things about, like, what is it that attracts the knight to go kill the dragon? Because what attracts him to kill the dragon? Is it the fame? Is it the fact that he has to train up? No, usually the knight is scared, you know. Usually it's like he's prepared his whole life for this moment. The only reason why he needs to slay said dragon is because of what's going to happen after he does. You know, peace throughout the kingdom, you say.
What happens if he doesn't do it?
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, there's two sides of things. You don't always do something because of what you get out of it. It's a lot of the time you do something because if you don't do it, something bad will happen.
And I think that's how it links into what you were saying, that kind of how chaos has two sides.
Yeah, there's two sides. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Chaos. There's this idea of order and chaos, and that it's not good and bad. Order and chaos is not just good and bad, good and evil, right? There's two sides to order and there's two sides to chaos. So the bad side of chaos you could easily imagine, and it's usually just described as chaos. But the good side would be possibility. You know, there's a sea of possibilities. There's the water metaphor, right? You know, and the dragon is this combination of the good and the bad chaos. The bad chaos is a big, unpredictable monster that can kill you at a moment's notice. But it's the good side of chaos as well, because it brings treasure. You know, it brings, you know, all that sort of stuff.
It just comes down to these two endings: a happy ending or a sad ending. And I think the only way to ever have like the happy ending is to defeat said dragon. I mean, just what you were saying about how chaos has these sides, it reminds me of, like, you know, like a lucky dip. You know, you stick your hand in a lucky dip, you can't see anything, you don't know if you're going to get anything at all, but there is a chance that you can get a prize in the end. And why do we do it? We don't not do it. We don't go, well, there's probably no chance I'll ever get a prize. No, the people line up to do it because they feel like they have a chance. They feel like they can win something. They feel like they'll feel good because they feel that if they take this chance, they will end up better than they were, and they think that waiting in that line was worth it.
Yeah, so people love the good side of chaos. That's what makes things interesting.
That's what makes it attractive.
The fact that you don't know what's going to happen, that's what curiosity is. It's the mapping of the unknown, the possibilities of chaos. That's what curiosity is, you know. And there's a reason. There's a reason why. Ben, why do you think like in the archetypal dragon and hero story,
Okay.
there's always a damsel in distress in the tower. Why is that? Why do you think that is? There's a reason why dragons are associated with like this, the idea of like the virgin and the dragon are
Ooh.
associated so closely, and it's like, why is that? It's the idea again of there's two sides of chaos, right? And a lot of time women are, well, there's this idea of masculine and feminine, right?
Right.
The feminine in like mythology is the chaos. It's the order and chaos, right? And again, that's not a like a political thing, or it's not a that's what it is, right? And there's two sides of that, good and bad, right?
Okay.
And it's the idea, the feminine, right, is both the dragon and it's both the virgin in the castle.
Okay.
And there's this idea that a lot of people, like, they think back in Genesis, right? The snake made Eve self-conscious, basically. The snake gave the fruit to
temptation.
Eve, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, the snake made Eve self-conscious, and Eve made Adam self-conscious, right? And there's a few ways you can look at that, right? Because the way like humanity's set up, right? It's the men that usually have to go out to get the women, right? Defeat the dragon, get the damsel in distress, right? That's what these stories are telling about. And if you put that in a daily scenario, think like it's women make men self-conscious, right? That's not a abstract description.
Women
to
make men nervous. Yes.
And it's the idea that you need to conquer the dragon part of the feminine before you get the other part of the feminine.
Yeah, I can see where
I just think that's interesting.
Yeah, I can see. I get
a lot of stories.
I can see where you're coming from and how this dragon story. We'll call it the dragon.
But
story.
Yeah, that you can put that in any scenario.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You
whatsoever.
could, in any kind of human scenario, there's always a dragon, so to speak.
Yeah.
There is, in every story and in every kind of experience that we go through, there is always this dragon to overcome. Like in the example that you were giving, you've got say the guy wants the girl, but the dragon is conquering his own self, his own, what's it called?
Self-consciousness.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
He's shy. He needs to overcome that kind of dragon to get the girl. Similarly, somebody with depression would try to conquer that kind of dragon, or that dragon's going to eat them up alive. And I guess to this point where we're always like, wow, yeah, you can actually just input that structure of a story into any kind of scenario in life. There's always a challenge that we always need to overcome every single step of the way. And I think the really nice thing about being a Christian, especially, is if we go back to those kind of books, to those stories where all the water was involved, where we used this chaos. So you had Noah, Jonah, and Moses.
Yeah.
What was the reason how they all came out through the end? What was the big reason? They had God. They had this father who told them exactly what they needed to do, which allowed them to come out the other side. He gave Noah the measurements to make the ark. He told Moses that he'd be with him through the waters, and Jonah prayed 3 days inside the belly of the whale, the fish, and he was spat out. It's this idea that there is a presence there is some kind of helping hand, and you could honestly like talk about that in that kind of deity sense, but you could also lower it right down to this sort of companion sense. What is it that the knight slays the dragon with?
A sword.
A sword, all right. And where did he get the sword?
The blacksmith.
From the blacksmith. In our first recording, we had such a line. But
Deja vu. Wait, what? The first time.
So the blacksmith, and what I'm saying is, every knight needs his blacksmith. Similarly, every person, because I believe everybody's sort of like the knight now. Like having talked about this, everybody, if you think about it, is the knight of their own story, male and female. You know, we all have dragons to conquer, but every knight needs a blacksmith. You know, we're not saying that you need to be the sole hero who needs to do everything yourself. That's not what we're saying at all. All right. None of the heroes in the Bible could ever have done anything themselves. All right. The whole point of that was because that God was with them and kept them safe and secure. And just bringing that down to like friendship levels, and the fact that we have these blacksmiths and these squires and all these people around us that are perfectly willing to help us slay our dragons, you know, and we as humans are perfectly willing to help other people slay their dragons, you know. Like, I'm pretty sure if somebody came up to you and said, look, I'm actually like really struggling here, I need your help, you without a doubt you'd be like, oh yeah, no problem.
There's this dragon with wings.
Yeah, have a sword, I'm your blacksmith.
Help.
And especially like, experienced sort of knights as well. You know, we can always go to like our elders or people who have been through similar things to get that advice to slay these particular dragons. And I'm sorry, I'm just so hyped about the fact that this structure fits so well into the human experience. It fits so well into this kind of narrative. I mean, it's that we're all in.
It's the human story.
It is the human story. The human story is about
voluntarily going out to slay the dragon,
to slay
the treasure.
Exactly, and that is like the oldest tale of all time. But it's probably is everywhere. Look everywhere. It's every movie, every book, every kind of life that you think about. What kind of dragon?
Shrek.
Exactly, you know. And what was the big dragon? What was the dragon that Shrek had to overcome though? It wasn't actually the dragon. It was the fact that he was an ogre, and it was about getting acceptance. And it was Fiona turning into the ogre and being accepted into that kind of.
This is not a Shrek
I know, but if you think about it, no, but that's the whole story of it. You know, it's about being okay with who you are, and that is a dragon altogether.
Shout
you know,
out to Shrek.
Shout out to Shrek, my man, Mike Myers. Anyway,
also I need to emphasize. We can go on and talk about and slay your dragon, whatever, but you know, what is that? What's that gonna do for anyone? So right, it sounds a bit cheesy to be honest with you, right?
It does.
It is cheesy, right?
Go on and slay your dragons, yeah.
Yeah. But bring it back to the point that the dragon is this like almost undefeatable apex
terrifying.
I mean, the Bible goes on for a full chapter just describing how undefeatable it is. Yeah. Like it does that for a reason. And just bring it back to the point that dragons can kill you, right? That's what they are. They're the thing that kills you.
Super dangerous.
They're the chaos that kills you. So I'm not gonna sit here and just say just kill your dragons. It's gonna be hard. They're dragons for a reason. But you know, it's beneficial. You just sit down. I mean, like really sit down for like an hour at least, just thinking, just like what
it is a class point.
What are my dragons? Right? What are the things? What's the chaos in my life? Where is it? Like what actually is it? Right? That's the discovering and addressing your dragons, right? You know, some people like to live in the fog because you know, maybe they don't want to see what's in the fog because it might hurt them, might scare them, and they'll just live in the fog. But you know, you shouldn't live in the fog for obvious reasons. As I say in that wee story, the dragon grows each day until it runs off your house. Yeah. And it's the idea, you know, again, dragons can kill you. Take that very seriously. You know, if you don't address these problems, then, you know, they'll address you sooner or later.
Yeah. If I could just jump in real quick, I could honestly, like, half these stories, it's not just one big fight against a dragon. Like, a good chunk of it is them on an adventure, on a quest, finding the dragon, figuring out.
It's the whole process.
Yeah, it's the entirety of the story. You know, we're not at all saying.
There's a reason it's an adventure. Yeah. These are adventure stories. What is adventure? It's exploring the unknown.
To get something better.
Exploring the chaos. That's what unknown is. It's the chaos.
Linking us back to the whole curiosity that we were talking about earlier.
And then it's just this ramp up, right? The very final.
The climax.
Yeah, the climax is the dragon. That's what that's what it's been leading to. That's what that's what the adventure is. So I'd say, you know, well, we figure out what your dragons are and address them sooner or later.
Again, it is a class thing to sort of meditate on, because I know a lot of people that just sort of are stuck in the mud, like are just like, you know what, I just don't know what to do. But most of the time, like, they do know what's wrong, but they just don't have the equipment or the way to actually go out and slay the dragon, let alone take that first step out into that adventure story. And that's sort of where I link back to the whole blacksmith kind of analogy, you know.
You like this blacksmith
I honestly
analogy?
do. No, I honestly, like, friendship.
I never thought of this blacksmith analogy until you relentlessly brought it up.
I'm just saying, like, this idea of fellowship and companionship, like, completely different. Like, what's the Lord of the Rings without fellowship?
I mean, it's a good point. Like,
yeah, like, what's any story without that side character, you know, that saves the hero's life at one point? Because if they weren't there, end of the story, you know. And, like, every single person who's listening to this right now is the main character of their own story, but you're also a very important character in another person's story, whether you like it or not. That's just how it is, you know. And that gives you worth and that gives you value. As Christians, however, we have the ultimate blacksmith, you know. We have the ultimate person. Not only is he the author of this story, but he's also like, yo, I'm going to give you this OP weapon. It's called Jesus Christ. You can slay any dragon with it, you know.
It's the cheesiest.
I don't care. It works. It fits well. But that's just how I think. I'm a big kid in my head, but
This episode's gonna be titled Cheese.
No, it's
not dragons. Cheese.
I think, though, it works.
What?
The entire analogy.
Oh, of course it works. It's like no
what you want.
one came up with this story.
Yeah.
This story wasn't made.
It was.
This story is what. It's our psyche.
It's
It's
humanity.
what we are.
Yeah.
That's what happens. It's a description of reality. It's not. No one made that story.
Yeah. It was right from the beginning.
Shrek always
from
existed.
Genesis, and we can read about it all the way into the future Revelation. Like, it is the
Sarah Werman.
one thing.
Yeah. I think that wraps it up
That does.
quite well. The 31-minute mark, somewhere around there. Right, well,
Right.
then hopefully this was on par with our first take
this
of
is
this episode.
5th recording of it because we had technical difficulties, but we got there eventually, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully. We'll see now when I try and save this.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, yes, we gave you some kind of encouragement if you ever feel like you've got a dragon to slay at some point.
Yeah.
But
I really mean sit down for an hour with no distractions and think, meditate on that idea.
yeah, because it will do you some good. Maybe open up the Bible if you're able. Talk to your friends, talk to your blacksmiths. But yes, thank you so much for listening to episode 3 of ATT. Do not right click, Josh.
Okay.
Have a good night. Evening,
Goodbye.
whatever.